Welcome to the Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Now, in this week's episode, we're going to look at long regrowths. We've looked at long regrowths quite a few times recently, but the main reason for that is because obviously a lot of people are dealing with long regrowths post-COVID lockdowns. So this is a great way of tackling somebody who used to have highlights, have all grown out, and you want to create something a bit softer and a bit more diffused. And it's all about that lived-in blonde at the moment, or low maintenance hair. Everybody's asking for something that's a bit more low maintenance than they used to have in my book. I don't know how you guys are getting on, but this is definitely one of those for those clients who want to soften down their pre-existing, more intense blonde colour. But before we get on with today's episode, a big shout out to a new acquaintance, Denise Ferguson. If you need any advice around the law aspects of renting, leasing, co-working, employees, Denise is your woman to go to. I'm going to link her Instagram just here. She is an absolute wealth of knowledge. And the main reason I wanted to shout her out is because when you're sitting around wanting some advice and you don't know who to go to, then having Denise in your Instagram follow list or in your actual contacts will be a very, very useful thing indeed. So a big thank you for Denise for being there for us hairdressers. The last thing I want to say is a big thank you to my Patreons. If you want to become a Patreon of the Life of Hair and join in some exclusive education, then do follow the link down in the description. And we do 2 lives a month. And I love having you guys sending me messages, helping you with your client queries, problems. So do utilize the Patreon for that as well. It really is great to be seeing the work you guys produce and helping you with your bigger color correction problem. And don't forget as well, Wednesday night live, 9 p.m. on my channel. Paul Watts and myself will be doing our usual Wednesday night live. So come and join us for that. That's 9 p.m. UK time. So whatever you need to do to make that work for you, then I'll leave that one to you. But I look forward to seeing you there. Paul will be doing a haircut this week, so hopefully you guys can come along and join us. So this is our starting point, a level 7 natural colour with some pre-existing highlights. It used to be a lot blonder, a lot brighter, highlights right back up to the root. But post-COVID, wanted something a little bit softer. I did colour her hair back probably before Christmas, created something a little bit softer then, but obviously wants to maintain that softness now, is enjoying not having to have her highlights done quite so regularly. So I'm going to show you how we're going to top up this highlighting, grown out, lived in blonde, low maintenance, highlighting, whatever you want to call it. These names are endless, I appreciate. But in this particular instance, what we've done, taking a rectangle section through the parting. It's always good to remember where the partings are. It really helps to kind of isolate the parting area so we can work through that area very specifically. But in the back here, we want maximum coverage. So we're taking a fine horizontal slice, then we're weaving that horizontal slice somewhere in between a baby light and a medium weave style. And it's really important for this specific instance that we don't do anything that's too fine, because it will just get lost, because there is an extensive amount of brown root area. But we also don't want anything that's too chunky that we've then got to leave, you know, big heavy streaks within the hair. Now, obviously, later on in the video, I'm going to show you how I go about toning this particular look, because the toner really does help to kind of bring it all together and create that extra soft lived-in blonde vibe, which I particularly really like. But in the way that we're going to put the foils in, it is really important that we do not leave too smaller spaces in between each of our horizontal sections as we work throughout the head. Obviously, in this back area, we've got 3 foils that go horizontally across the head. And my next section that I then go to take wants to be at least 1 centimetre or so, 10 millimeters roughly, away from the previous section. The main reason for this is that highlights in this specific way are there to accent and highlight, not to change the color specifically. So I think it's really important that we obviously remember that, because when we were at college, we probably put in thousands and thousands of highlights. When highlights first came out, they just got oversaturated, bogged down with highlights. I've skipped a few sections here just so you can see, you know, how I've worked through these sections and the sort of width of sections that I've been using. But utilizing that style of weave that is somewhere in between a baby light and a regular weave, we're going to get plenty of coverage, and we're going to work through these sections horizontally up towards what is kind of the crown area right now. And it is of paramount importance. For instance, here's a great example, a great analogy, if you will. If I gave you a highlighter in a book and asked you to go around and highlight the word "and," you wouldn't then just blanket color the whole page because you knew you would go over the word "and." Sometimes we need to be a bit more precise with where we place our foils to create effects rather than color changes with foil. So this is one of those things. If you struggle with that, then definitely make sure that you keep your eyes glued to this technique, because it's a real winner in terms of creating dimension and movement and connection to older highlights with long regrowths, or even creating some new effects completely. I personally love softer hair colors. I'm not looking to have clients sitting in my chair every 6 weeks. I'm looking for those clients who want those 8 to 10 week colors. Obviously you need more clients to come in then, but equally I want to do work that I feel that is akin to my personal taste. My personal taste is softness. So it's really, really important that for me, I'm doing the work that I enjoy, and I'm charging the appropriate amount of money to make sure I'm making a decent living as a hairdresser. I'll talk a little bit more about, you know, making sure you charge in just a second. But first of all, I just want to talk about the way that I apply foils. It's something that people ask me lots of comments on in my previous foiling videos. And it's really, really straightforward. Simply take your weave, take the foil and place the foil, either lay it on the head and put your pintail in at the bottom of the foil. Wrap the foil around the pintail comb so that you have a flap at the back. You push up with your pintail comb and pull down with the hair. You then saturate the hair to stick it to the foil. You fold the foil by a third and then a third again, and then you lift it and secure it with the flap at the back. You either fold one or both sides or leave it open, dependent on where you are in the head, on the technique you're going to do. If I'm going to paint a tint or I'm going to do a root stretch in between my foils, I will secure each one of my foils so I can work through knowing I won't pull my foils down, create slippages and bleeds. The other thing to remember as well when we're taking our weaves is that we don't dig too deep into the section, especially if we haven't taken that clean horizontal slice off the top. You'll note that on some of my sections I don't take that clean horizontal slice, it's just habit. But I was specific about doing that in this particular video because I wanted to talk about the benefits of taking that clean horizontal slice. It will prevent you from digging too deep into the section, and when you dig too deep into the section and you push your foil up to the root area, you will inevitably leave a small gap from where you can feasibly paint to without overlapping the edge of the foil and creating harsh bleeds in the hair, and where you can paint to safely. This will automatically give you the perception of 1 or 2, maybe even 3 millimeters of roots, and your clients may notice this and not be very pleased with that. So if you make sure you take that fine horizontal section and you weave in and out, then you'll be absolutely bomb proof, and you'll be able to get your foils as close to the roots as humanly possible, and paint right up to the lip of the foil without the product spilling over the edge and creating those very unsightly and difficult to fix bleeds. So hopefully that will help you if anybody's struggling with any of those kind of things, your foil slipping, getting bleeds, or getting really, really close to the roots. All of those things will help immensely. If you're a very proficient foiler, then well done, and none of that is probably relevant. But I hope for those of you who are starting out in your journeys or learning to foil, those tips will help you as you go through. Now, in the specific instance of this technique, if we had a few bleeds, we're going to do a toning technique a bit later on that would help with that immensely, and it's a great way of kind of fixing bleeds if you have any. So definitely hang around to see the toning technique that we use in just a second. So we're just working our way up the side sections horizontally for maximum coverage. Remember, horizontal sections give you maximum coverage because as the hair lays in natural fall, you get a more blonde perception or a lighter perception. It is one of those things that lots of people just put in foils in a way that feels most comfortable, but that's not always necessarily the best way to do it. That little section of hair that I've just laid down, we're going to leave that, because remember, we're not going to highlight the whole page, we're going to just do the ands, and that is a really, really important thing to remember, guys. Just do the ands. So next section, we're going to take a section that mirrors the hairline diagonally, effectively, not completely diagonal backwards, but softly diagonal back. We're going to take a fine soft weave out the front hairline there, and then we're going to paint our product up to the lip of the foil and saturate through as per usual. Lots of people say to me about getting the product or their hair to stay on the foil without the hair slipping out the foil or the foil slipping down, and the trick to that is getting plenty of product onto the hair so the hair and the foil are stuck together as quickly as possible. So that is a really, really fantastic tip and trick and way to get around that when you're having problems with your foil sliding down out of the sections. As we work through this technique, we are maintaining a very, very similar stitch / weave throughout each and every section. But remember, you can utilize different stitches and different weaves to create different effects. You can also combine different stitches and different weaves. I did make a video on some of the different stitches and weaves I personally like to use. I'll link it at the end of this video. In this particular instance, we're using something quite consistent and quite fine throughout, just to create a very specific effect to blend out her natural colour that's grown through into that much lighter colour through the ends without creating too much colour within the hair. Very important for me not to overcolour people's hair. It is been done, it's a bygone day where we put in so many foils that we change the colour of someone's hair in foil. I think that is a big mistake and something that a lot of people do and do not charge enough money for. So remember, it is really, really important that when we are doing these techniques that we are charging appropriately. This particular technique to apply the foils takes around 45 minutes for me. Obviously, my prices are specific to me because of the location that I live in, but whatever you would charge for a 45-minute service, make sure that you are covering all your costs and paying yourself a reasonable amount at the end of it all. Then I've got the toning service, which will take about 20 minutes to apply. So I will obviously charge for the time plus the product. It's really important that we remember all these things when, even if we're not working for ourselves and we're working for somebody else, for the business to be profitable and you to stay in your job and keep the salon open, we do need to do things that are cost effective. So if you feel like you're doing work that is either more time consuming and your boss is saying, well, you can't do that kind of work because it takes too long, etc., etc., make sure that the prices match the expectations. Clients are bringing in so many pictures from social media. Their expectations are very, very high these days, and it is very difficult to get some of these techniques done in a normal amount of time, whatever normal is to you. So don't bust your back trying to get techniques that are very technical and long-winded done in a short space of time. Make sure that when you have your consultations with your clients that they know that these techniques are very, very long and lengthy and that you need more time. Alternatively, for this specific instance, 45 minutes to apply, 45 to 50 minutes to process it, 20 to 30 minutes dependent on the technique to apply the toner, process the toner, dry it, take it all off, cut the hair. It does long out the length of time that somebody is with you. And so they also need to know that if they're going to book childcare and all those kind of things. So they're all things that I really think about. I've got so much to share with you on that specific subject, and I'm going to save some of that for when I've upgraded and changed some of the background stuff in the life of hair. Can't wait to share with you some of the things that are going to roll out in the next few months. I've been working flat out. So tone and time, what my favorite part really of most techniques, because of the place where I feel like I can be really creative, we're doing a very, very precise and delicate root tapping technique here, one of my absolute favorite things to do, and we're only doing that here in this very front section strip of hair all the way down to the top of the ear. All we want to do is just nudge out where the highlights start. So we're using Redkin Shades EQ 6NB 6N for this particular technique. Really, really easy to do. Just tap, tap, tap and work through the sections. But on the sections that are in the back underneath, I want to stretch the toner down a bit further. So I've not only painted it a bit further down the head, but I'm going to go in with a horizontal comb and brush the product down the hair a bit further, just to soften it out. This is the final look, a beautifully soft, well blended, connected, highlighting, lived in blonde, low maintenance technique, whatever you want to call it, but one that a client can wear for weeks and weeks and weeks without the real need to have it topped up. And you know, it's probably going to be 10 to 12 weeks minimum before she even thinks about having her hair done again. But in that time, there'd have been loads of recommendations, because you know, when you deliver work like this, people notice that somebody has had high quality, expensive looking hair done, and they generally will ask, you know, where did you get that done? Who does your hair? Lots of my work, most of my work, new work, comes from people asking people either in the street or, you know, friends asking friends where they get their hair done. I do get work from social media, of course, Instagram, YouTube, but still the vast majority of my work comes through word of mouth. So I hope that's helped you. If it has, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Tell me down in the comment section whether any of that was useful to you. And if you try any of these techniques, please do let me know. Until next time, look after yourself.